Okay, welcome everyone. They tell me we're underway, so welcome to our March 21st regular City Council meeting. And spring has sprung, so it's quite exciting. Plus COVID starting to just feel a little more manageable, so certainly a lot of more positive energy around, and it just is great to see that in our community, and just lots more things starting to happen, and just feels like things are starting to come back. So just a wonderful feeling. So without further ado, first item of business, Madam Clerk.
Roll call, Your Worship. I've taken the roll, and all members of the council are present with the exception of Councillor Berry. And I would note that Councillor Cameron is joining us virtually tonight.
Thank you. And next item, please.
A motion to adopt this evening's agenda, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Cullen, seconded by Councillor Frangie. Any changes or additions? And not seeing any. We'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next item, please.
Confirmation of the minutes from the regular meeting of council held March 7th.
Moved by Councillor Lupke, seconded by Councillor Chaboyer. Any errors or omissions? And you'll have to let me know if Councillor Cameron chimes in, because I can't see him otherwise. So,
Okay.
Again, not seeing any, so we'll call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And next item, please.
Under the order of committee reports, Your Worship, we have a verbal report from the Audit and Finance Committee.
Very good, and I believe that's Councillor Parker this time.
You bet. Thank you, Your Worship. The Audit and Finance Committee met March 10th to review the unaudited financial information return. The Municipal Act requires that all municipalities file such a return annually. We were pleased to see a total surplus of $3.299 million reported by our Director of Finance. That was a combination of a surplus of $1.894 million reported in the General Fund and $1.45 million reported in the Utility Fund. The surplus was utilized in the following manner. $800,000 was used to reduce the 2022 mill rate during budget deliberations. That resulted in a reduction in the proposed tax increase by 1.76%. Council also approved a $70,000 transfer to the Sportsplex Reserve to facilitate the completion of roof repairs. And the remaining surplus was allocated as follows. $400,000 went to the COVID Restart General Fund, $150,000 to the Disposal Site Sanitation Reserve, $150,000 to the Sportsplex Reserve, $150,000 to the Storm Sewer Reserve, and the Parks Reserve received $174,000 influx. The results that we are showing was the result of an influx of approximately $1.68 million of unused federal COVID money from 2020 into the 2021 operational, as well as some operational efficiencies throughout the organization. So over the 2 years during the pandemic, I guess kudos to all those involved in ensuring we run as efficiently as possible, because it allowed us to move those funds forward and help keep folks' tax rate as low as we were able to. So I do caution that these are unaudited results. However, we would expect to see only minor adjustments, if any, based on our historic reporting.
Thank you very much, Councillor Parker. Any questions of, sorry?
Councillor Cameron had a question, I believe. And if I may, Your Worship, Councillor Berry has joined us virtually, so we have all members of council present.
Okay, very good. And so Councillor Cameron had a question, so go ahead now, please. Maybe not. Councillor Cameron, are you there? Not sure if you can hear me. Okay. Councillor Luke, you go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I got two questions. One really is just for information, and one is just a bit of a follow-up. So through you to Councillor Parker, with the $400,000 going into the COVID Restart Reserve, what would be our total following that? Because I believe at budget it was around $290 was going to be left on that, so it'll be close to about $700,000.
That's correct.
$697,000. Okay.
The rationale for that, sorry, Councillor Loopy. The rationale for that, it was felt that there's still some uncertainty resolved around issues from COVID, and we thought better to have a little bit of a buffer zone in there, and those funds can be more easily accessible in that particular fund.
Yeah, and I think we had a brief discussion about it actually at budget deliberations, and certainly in favor of having that buffer for sure. Second question I had was, and I don't know if this was discussed or has been discussed, but I know it was brought up also during budget deliberations in regards to the H Street Bridge Reserve. And administration had kind of split it into some reserves, and we had put it back together, and then was supposed to be coming back to council for further discussion on kind of its future. And I'm just wondering if we've kind of mapped out a bit of a plan on that at all, or has that been discussed? Or
The discussion hasn't happened at Audit and Finance.
At Audit and Finance, so.
We'll have to take that under advisement and
Okay,
ask
thank you.
administration for an opportunity to do that. Okay, and Councillor Cameron did not have a question, so the floor is open if there are others. Seeing none, that covers that. We can move on to the next committee report, Madam Clerk.
Is the verbal report from the Poverty Committee, Your Worship?
Councillor Lukey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our monthly meeting of the Poverty Committee was held March the 9th. The main focus of the meeting was hearing from Community Wellness Collaborative Co-Chair Matt Grills on the goals and mandate of the CWC and what their plans and projects may be. And we also had a robust discussion around the many concerns related to housing and poverty in Brandon. We also discussed possible uses for the Poverty Committee's budget this year, and some ideas brought forward include a community forum, one-off project support, and the possibility of hosting a community event in the downtown core that would bring together community members and build on existing relationship between those in need and those serving and wanting to help those in need. So stay tuned for more information on those initiatives.
Very good, thank you. Any questions of Councillor Lukey or any members of the Poverty Committee? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. And we can take the next report, please.
I believe we have a verbal from the Downtown Brandon Wellness and Safety Task Force, Your Worship.
So again, Councillor Lukey.
Thank you very much. Downtown Task Force, as we all know, was organized last year. So we've met several times since being organized and engaged stakeholders in the downtown, including business owners, nonprofit organizations, our own planning professionals with the City of Brandon. And we also discussed issues with protective services professionals, including the Brandon Police Service and Brandon Fire and Emergency Services, and our security patrols downtown as well. Long list of solutions to consider was created following that community input stage. Last Friday, our group engaged in a half-day session to start analyzing those options, and as a result, we expect some interim recommendations to come before Council in a few weeks. More analysis on some of the longer-term solutions will continue, and just wanted to add that our group is working diligently and strategically to help Brandon. We continue to appreciate the insight and dedication of those who have volunteered to be part of the Downtown Safety Wellness Task Force. Mayor Kress, Councillor Fawcett, and I look forward to continuing to work with our team in the coming weeks and months.
Thank you very much. Again, open the floor for any questions of Councillor Lukey on the Wellness and Safety Task Force. I will say, as noted, it's a great group, and they really put in a lot of time and sort of getting very close to some recommendations to be made to Council. So you're going to hear quite a bit more meat and potatoes quite shortly. But Councillor Lukey did provide a report, just so people do understand this is going quite vigorously, even if you haven't heard that much about it lately. Not seeing any hands up, and I do believe there was at least one more report added.
We have a verbal report from the Western Manitoba Regional Library.
Very good, Councillor Fawcett.
Yes, thank you, through your worship. The library board met there in the last week or so, and just to go over again that we do have our new staff announcements, the new director, Ali Wojcik, programming librarian Alex Rogowski, and new programming assistant Michelle Baudry. They look forward to creating more events and fun programs for everybody downtown and in the library at the mall. Just in the next few days and that they have the virtual storytelling down there on the 23rd, March 23rd, 10:30 to 11 a.m. Scrabble Club on the 23rd from 1 to 4 p.m. is at the public library. We have the Reading Assistance Program on the 26th from 11 a.m. to 12. Pokemon at the Shoppers Mall that's actually, I think, the whole spring break. Pokemon at the Shoppers Mall, yeah, and that's at the Shoppers Mall. Nonfiction Book Club on the 28th from 7 to 9. VR Play, Lego Club, Comic Creations. There's lots of things going on downtown at the library, so one of the easiest things to do is go down to the library or go on their website, wmrl.ca, and look at all the things that are going on. So it's nice to have people going in and out of there and a sense of normalcy down at the library and get in there and take part in things they're doing.
Excellent. Again, we'll open the floor for any questions. Councillor Fawcett on the library report. Sound like a few things that are finally my speed there. I'll have to pitch in. Okay, not seeing any others. We weren't aware of other committee reports, but sometimes there are others that occurred. If there are, we'd be glad to take them now. Okay, not seeing any. Motion to accept all those reports would be in order, please. Moved by Councillor Parker, seconded by Councillor Lupke. Any discussion? Call for question then. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Next item, please.
It's the order of inquiries, Your Worship.
Inquiries. We didn't have any in advance, but sometimes things do arrive in the middle of a busy Monday. So if there are any new ones, we can take them now if you like. It's kind of like having the substitute teacher here. Okay, we've got Councillor Cameron. So go ahead, please. Sure. Go ahead, Councillor Cameron, if you can hear me. Bear with us that technology.
No, I didn't. I did not have an inquiry, Your Worship.
You do not? Okay, sorry, we saw your hand up there, so we thought maybe you did. Thank you. Okay, just making sure we didn't have any. Again, I was about to say that we're taking it easy on the substitute teacher today with the acting city manager. So next item, please.
Is the order of announcements, Your Worship.
Announcements this evening. Councillor Chaboyer.
Thank you, Worship. I have an announcement on behalf of Lindsay Hargraves, our Environmental Initiatives Coordinator and Environment Committee. Tomorrow is World Water Day, and this year's theme is groundwater. Groundwater is invisible, but its impact is visible everywhere. It's out of sight, it's under our feet, it's hidden treasure that enriches all our lives. Almost all of the liquid fresh water in the world is groundwater. The city of Brandon is on top of an aquifer, and the activities on the land surface can affect the quality of our groundwater. Here are a few points to protect our aquifer. Reduce your household chemical use and properly dispose of motor oil and unwanted or unused chemicals and medications. Visit brandon.ca/recycling/recyclopedia. And they'll give you more tips and what you should be recycling. If pesticides, oil, gasoline, and other hazardous products leak or spill into your driveway or other hard surface, use kitty litter or another absorbent material on the spill. Do not wash down the area. Select low water use plants and limit the amount of pesticides and fertilizers used in your yard. Try to go natural. Minimize runoff, which can carry chemicals into the surface water and groundwater. And of course, you've heard a lot about it this year too, is look at installing a rain garden I know that people are dealing with drainage issues now, but, over time, we're going to be dealing with more global warming effects with a lot of dry surfaces, and it's good to protect water in your yard, and a rain garden is a good way to get it away from your house. So on behalf of the Environment Committee and Lizzie Hargraves, I hope that you all will celebrate World Water Day, and we'll have a toast to, if you lift your glass, that we have great drinking water in Brandon, and thank you to our water department in the city of Brandon for doing a fantastic job of treating our water. And now it's up to all of us and the citizens of Brandon to ensure that our water stays fresh. Quantity and quality are of the utmost importance when it comes to water.
Very good. Well done, Councillor Chaboyer. That was very informative and great to have a toast. And
Yes.
I just never get tired of looking at how beautiful the water that we make is.
And Brandon's
how tasty
drinking
it is.
water tastes really good too. It's good water.
I agree. Yeah, always agree. And thank you for that. And other announcements? Again, not seeing any. Just encourage people to really shift your mindset. You know, we're sort of not as accustomed to having regular events that we had been, and we kind of were starved for that for a couple of years. Well, lots of things are coming back. We know there's all kinds of sporting events. It's been great to see a lot of championships that have been won lately. Sittaboyan Community College women recaptured their title, and I noticed the Neelan basketball team won their title. Numerous hockey teams, I can't name them all, have been winning titles, so it's just very exciting to see all of that coming back. A lot of events coming up. One of our flagship events, Royal Manitoba Winter Fair, is coming up at the end of the month after 2 years of having had been cancelled. So that organization, Provincial Exhibition of Manitoba, has toughed it out for 2 years to keep their head afloat and finally get back to do what they do. So we'll want to take that in. And again, I'm just scratching the surface, but we really need people to be encouraged to put your shift your mindset back to events and activities and things a lot more pleasurable and interesting coming up. And the art gallery has had some very interesting exhibits and activities going on lately. And as Councillor Fawcett just mentioned, the library, university always has a load of stuff coming on. The Eckhart Grammaty Music Festival takes place in the month of April. So just stay tuned, pay attention to all of the forms of media out there, and try and get back on track to enjoying some great events that we have many of here in Brandon. So if there are not any other announcements, I think we can move on to the next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Under the order of general business, Your Worship, we have the appointments to the Planning Commission.
Very good. Hang on, I'm gonna get back on here. All right. Someone like to make that motion on the Planning Commission? Councillor Fawcett, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Through your worship, that the following persons be appointed to the Planning Commission with the terms of office to begin April 1st, 2022 and expire March 31st, 2025. That would be Kate Hill and Ryan Johnston.
You, seconder, please. Councillor Chaboyer, mover wish to speak?
No, thank you. Thank you for putting their names up. And Planning Commission is an important commission through the city, and just because they're being appointed April 1st, it's not a fool's appointment. This is real.
Great. And again, I think the public knows this. The city does generally advertise for all of these various committees and commissions, boards that we have out there, and solicit. This time there were 2 applicants for 2 openings. One of the positions, Kate Hill, has served a 2-year term, so she's coming back with experience, and the other individual is a new applicant, new appointment. But we're grateful for all of these committees and these citizens that put their hand up to serve on all these different particular commissions. I'm probably the only one on the table that could attest to this, that in my previous life, 11 years on council, we didn't have the planning commission. So all of the things that the planning commission dealt with, like variations and subdivision applications and all those kind of hearings, every one of those had to come to council. And there would be some nights just people wanted to build a garage a foot closer than allowed. It was all came to council and debated, and people had to stand here in front of the cameras. And the planning commission was adopted. Far more efficient system, certainly better for council. I think better for the applicants. It's just a lot more, I guess, user-friendly system. And having sort of served in both camps, if you will, this planning commission is by far a big improvement over what we had. Only the appeals come to council, so it certainly has lightened the load and just streamlined the system. So that wouldn't happen without people like this offering themselves to sit on the board. So any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And next item, please.
We also have appointments to the Brandon Downtown Development Corporation.
Councillor Desjardins.
Through your worship, I move that the following citizens be appointed to the Brandon Downtown Development Corporation with terms of office to begin April 1st, 2022 and end March 31st, 2025. Cam Wirch and Pamela Smith.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Cullen. Mover wish to speak?
Briefly, your worship, we had three exceptional candidates apply for the positions. All three would make excellent members of the Brandon Downtown Development Corp. So much so that I believe that the board is going to revisit the current number of citizen appointments and potentially increase that so that all three candidates could potentially sit on the Development Corp and represent business and residents there. So great to see that, and it's nice to have Cam and Pamela who will be offering their voices on the BDDC.
Thank you. Well said. Any discussion, questions? Not seeing any. I think we'll call for the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next item, please.
Is the appointment of the senior election official, your worship.
This one might be a little more difficult with a little more. Councillor Fawcett, go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. That Heather Owasik be appointed as the senior election official for the City of Brandon to fulfill all obligations outlined in the Municipal Councils and School Boards Elections Act.
Seconder, please. Councillor Frangi. Who wish to speak?
Through your worship, I know this person, and if maybe we could have someone speak in her favor. Did do a great job. She's done it before on a number of occasions, and it's good to have somebody that knows how to do that. So thank you for putting herself in there.
Thank you. Other discussion? I think, and I'll just add to Councillor Fawcett's, again, as everyone knows, or hopefully will soon know even more, all the municipal elections in the province of Manitoba all occur simultaneously this year on October 26th. I might add that's also for school boards. And so we, at this time of the year and in the election year, always have to appoint a senior elections official. So we are fortunate that our city clerk and director of legislative services, Ms. Heather Owasik, has considerable experience in this, has done many of them, is certainly, I consider, practically an expert on the Municipal Act and the Elections Act. So we're pleased that she is going to be able to step in and do that for us at this particular election. And I would also like to just tail off, and I'm going to find every opportunity I can from here on in to do this, to just remind people of the impending election and encourage people to, give a lot of consideration to running for one of the various offices, whether it be mayor, city councillor, school board. Every one of them vitally needs excellent candidates, and we've got such great many very talented people in this community, and really like to see people become engaged in the process, hopefully as candidates. If not, just get involved in the election, make sure that you do vote, but certainly first thing up is to attract candidates to every level. We certainly want to encourage a lot more diversity, both with respect to gender diversity, but also I guess you call it ethnic diversity in our community with First Nations, new Canadians, and the like. So we've got a very rich community, and we want to see that all these bodies reflect that. So just put my plug in for people to really start thinking about the process. And I know that anybody currently sitting in any one of these capacities would generally be happy to talk to you and answer questions. If talk to a city councilor if you're thinking of running for city council. Talk to me if you're thinking of running for mayor. Talk to a school trustee, and I know people would be quite happy to help you out and tell you what the role is all about. So if there are not further discussion about the motion at hand, I think we're ready for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Next item, please.
Is consideration of the conceptual redesign of the Library Arts Building.
Councillor Fawcett.
Yes, thank you, through your worship again. That the conceptual redesign of the Library Arts Building attached to the report of the Director of the Planning and Buildings Department dated February 17th, 2022 be accepted.
Seconder, please. Councillor Desjardins. And I think maybe administration was going to make a presentation to us on this. So Mr. Ryan Nickel coming forward. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. We got the technology up and running. We'll do kind of a short overview of the conceptual design item. Before I get going, I just want to remind Council this is a much larger initiative. I'm here presenting the design today, but I'm part of a larger project team that involved representatives from the Art Gallery, the Brandon Museum, along with the library. And there was a lot of really good work here done by our consultant, F Block Architecture, in creating all of the really nice pictures to look at here and working through the design process. The overall process started over a year ago, and it was brought forward with the need for a new vision for this building, especially with the discussions around the library. There was a report on the library today about all the great things happening there. And part of the discussion was how do you get the facility to match the new vision for the library. It's been over 20 years since the library moved to its new location, and the demands of a modern library have changed. So with that comes a discussion around facilities, and that's when City Council had created a committee with the Library Art Gallery and the city to reach out to the community. So we spent 3-4 months, about 6 months to a year ago, engaging the public about some of the options and opportunities. And I'm pleased to present this item as something that considers many of those themes that were raised through the engagement that included accessibility, safety, creating the space as a destination. So these concepts are reflected throughout. So what's a conceptual design? A conceptual design is a vision. It's not a detailed design, so it's not ready for construction. It's just about bringing groups together around a vision. So you don't want to spend a lot of time and energy on going out and designing something to build it if you don't have all the parties on the same page. So that's what this project was about, was on getting on the same page. And I believe as a project team we did that, and that's why we're bringing it to council today. The photo showing the exterior of the current building. Actually looks kind of nice there. Nice, not too much snow on the ground. So what was one of the criteria was creating a new destination on the street, and that's what this exterior rendering shows. Shows the new glazing along Rosser Avenue, as well as a cantilevered second story. A big part of this was creating an entryway, a prominent entryway where patrons would feel safe coming in from the street. And there was a lot of back and forth on different options around this entryway option. This is the current floor plan showing the entire floor area taken up from the library, and it's largely dictated by the Eaton's building that used to be at this location. Like any good design process, it's based on values, and the values of the community through the consultation process. And this lists a few of them, but it was about bringing these uses together and creating a cultural hub, a real destination where that would renew momentum for this building and create a destination. As I talked about with the themes, key themes were accessibility, really ensuring this was a place for everyone, addressing the issues of safety. Safety was probably the biggest item that was raised throughout the consultation and the design process. Granted, this facility is not going to solve the safety problems and some of the perceptions downtown, but certainly the design of the building can enhance safety, at least at the building scale. So leading into the themes, talked about safety, talked about accessibility, the need to have a welcoming presence. So when you drive by the building, you look at the building, you think, this is a building I want to go to. Understanding that a cultural hub, an art gallery, a library, is an anchor of the downtown. So building a successful downtown means investing in amenities downtown, and this is certainly one of the amenities that the city is a leader in driving. Bringing cultural groups together, that's why we explored bringing the Brandon Museum in with the art gallery as well as the library. And then ensuring that the design comes hand in hand with programming and a sustainable model, but also looking at just not the economic side of things, but also at the environmental. So this was a fairly comprehensive process. Once again, all the thanks goes to F Block Architecture for their work. Multiple concepts were worked through initially. All of them had pros and cons, and through that process, the committee worked towards the preferred concept, which is the one presented for council today, and that's the final design. And that's what shows here. The key themes of this final design is the shared space on the first floor. Due to changing needs for the library, they didn't need all the space. So exploring opportunities to share the space with another facility, such as the Brandon Museum, who was looking to take advantage of a joint space such as this, as well as having that common entry area where there could be potentially a coffee shop, common gathering, sitting area, where residents can mingle. This isn't the library of the past where you have to just come in and be quiet. It's a social place for all our residents, as well as the entryway into the art gallery up on the second floor. This slide shows it in more detail, and it's also included in your report, so I won't walk you through it in too much detail, but the theme is clear sight lines, accessibility. There would be a lift at the front, as well as clear access to the elevator to the off of the mall entrance, as well as common connectivity between all areas, and a large multi-purpose room that could service after hours and be used by all patrons. So a few images here. I'm trying to demonstrate what it could look like if this was something that the city moved forward with. You can see this is the entryway. The big change here is the wide open areas and the taller ceilings and the common spaces between all the uses. Looking along the exterior sidewalk, this is one of the items that is prioritized in our downtown plan, which is creating active street frontages. So when you're walking down the streets, there's an openness to the businesses. We look open for business, and there's that interaction, so you get that with the look of glazing, and that's what this photo shows. And then just really a modernized library building, improving natural light, creating more of a destination where people want to be. Already shown the exterior photo. Okay, so now we get down to the financial part of the report and talking about the options. As usual, everything's expensive. And it just shows kind of the options that were explored. So the P1A, the baseline scenario, comes in at about $5 million. For the most part, this analysis shows how it meets the different themes. The one piece that you don't get is that larger exterior entrance look, which with the cantilever second story. So that was something that was fairly important to the committee and the stakeholders, was to create a presence on the street. So you can get the full floor plan layout, but you miss some of that potential contribution to the downtown revitalization by creating a little bit more of a landmark downtown. So the P1B, the elevated design scenario, does include that entrance from the street, as well as all the other features. So all the photos that we've shown in this presentation are of that P1B elevated design scenario. So that's the one that's in the $6 million range. An item that, or the third scenario that talks about the deep energy retrofit, is something that I think it would make sense, and the committee thought it would make sense for council to explore further, especially as the preferred option. Although it's the most expensive, there's a good business case towards investing in this type of, beyond just the environmental responsibility part of it. The existing building requires about $1 million in maintenance, even if we decided to do nothing. And through this deep energy retrofit, we can do it in such a ways where we're absorbing those overall maintenance costs, as well as there was a small business case in the report that looked at the annual savings to energy use. Above and beyond that, if we're looking for grant money, which I know we will be, getting in the energy business and the efficiency really opens up many doors for grants that simply aren't available just for building upgrades. So that seems like if we were to move forward, the wise decision would be to go for that energy retrofit, especially if we can attract grant funding to help us with the project. One of the other scenarios that just kind of floating around right now is the entrance. As part of the last budget, council set aside some funds that could potentially be used for the entrance. That was one of the items that was identified as a priority by all parties, and we have applied for a federal grant, which we've been waiting for a while, and we're still waiting for a response on. If we were fortunate enough to get that grant, we could look at doing the entrance separately, and then just bringing it as part of the overall design when we have the funding to do so. So there's a few options here that need to be determined, or some balls up in the air, but hopefully we'll hear some good news and maybe we can explore that option this year. So now looking at next steps. So where do we go from here? It's being brought forward now because it needs to be brought forward publicly, and we're just asking for council to accept it. So accepting a conceptual design is not committing to funding it. It's not committed to even moving it forward, but it is accepting it and putting it out there in the public, and we'll be putting it on the website and giving residents opportunity to offer some feedback before the detailed design. Ultimately, council has many large financial decisions to make around capital budgets, and this is just another one of those. So in terms of the next step council process, it'll be brought forward as a consideration as part of kind of the larger discussion around debentures and to see where that lies. Ultimately, if it's something that council does wish to proceed with, we'd have to go through likely the lending process, and then we could discuss timing. To see the full retrofit, we're probably not looking to see construction until potentially later, even if we really want to move quickly, later 2023, 2024. So when we're bringing this forward, construction doesn't happen quickly, but it needs to start somewhere, and that's the conceptual design. That concludes my quick overview, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nicol. That was very nicely done and a nice presentation. But we'll open the floor for questions. Councillor Desjardins, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, through your worship, to Mr. Nicol. And you know, I know you talked to us in the informal session about the contract, or the person we were consulting with, but that they were a fantastic group to work with. I'm actually pleasantly, surprised at just how detailed this conceptual design is, and I know now as a councillor that those are two different things. But also how quickly they put this together, right? So there's a lot of information there, and they put it together rather quickly, and we've got some pretty decent estimates there on what the costs would be. I know that there's some ongoing concerns with the library around safety and security, and so I sort of have two questions. My first one is, if council approves the conceptual design, is the next step to go out and seek a detailed design, and is there money in a reserve for that, or will you have to come back to council for that? That's my first question. Then my second question was just around mitigating some of those ongoing concerns while we're waiting for some of these improvements to occur.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Desjardins, through your worship. So the first question about the next steps in the process would be, before we're going out for detailed design, we don't have funds in reserve waiting on detailed design. Detailed design is fairly expensive. It's usually about 15% of project costs. So that would need to be included in a debenture. So the next conversations, and I think council's already started them, is having the overall discussions about the different priorities and where things fall into place. But if council chose this as one of the priorities to debenture, we'd have to start getting that get approved first and work through the process, and then we'd reach out to get the detailed design work done. And then after that, of course, we'd need to tender the work for construction. The discussion around the interim safety and I think the ongoing security type discussions there, potentially if we're fortunate we get the grant, we can start work on that access, which is, of course, is not going to solve all the problems, but would solve one of them, which is the desire to have a separate entrance facing Rosser Avenue. I am also aware, and probably library board members or perhaps Councillor Fawcett could talk in more detail about some of the arrangements going on around security and different partnerships being discussed right now.
Thank you.
I don't have other hands up, so I'm going to ask one. Again, and I like Councillor Desjardins' questions. So a lot of times in projects like this, I could think of, recreation-specific projects, master plans that we've had, rec master plan, green space master plan, other, significant initiatives that we're looking at doing. It'll, get to a certain point, and then we're ready to invite more public input and consultation. Now that we actually have something to really share, and it's exciting. You got some storyboards here, some layouts, and the like. So I'm not sure how much of any has been done. I know that the individual stakeholders had, they do have some, connection to their users and the public, but is it in the plan, and I hope it would be in the plan, to now take it from here? I know you just said, well, you're going to put it on the website and social media channels, but often, we'll host an open house or two and, garner feedback, which not only obviously allows people to, provide input into it, and often that yields some interesting little tweaks or changes that we might not have thought of. But it also starts to build, some buy-in and some excitement within the community. Obviously, is a big price tag to this, and so we'll certainly want to get the public's enthusiasm before doing such a thing. So, is there anything in the plans for that? And if not, could there be?
Yeah, to your worship. So there was a significant consultation component that was done before the design. So we did engage people about the concept and the opportunity. But you're right, we haven't engaged the public about the concept because we wanted to work with the partnering organizations to ensure the needs and the vision piece, and then we're bringing it to council. The next step was, like you talked about, to put on the website, and I know that's not glamorous, but part of that was going to be to have some sort of interactive way of people, highlighting the plan and commenting what they don't like or what they do like about the design, and then through that process being informed detailed design. I was not planning on doing like public workshops per se, just because competing priorities and timelines and that type of thing, but certainly we did envision some sort of public release, and also relying on the partnering organizations to do some of the engagement themselves once the rollout is. I mean, they're the ones who have the users coming to the building, so potentially kind of reaching out to them and having them engage their user groups to create some of that buy-in that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that point. Like, luckily, we've got a minimum of 3 significant partners involved in this, all of whom are sort of accustomed to public outreach, I guess you could say, so, and have sort of built-in memberships and gatherings and so on and so forth. So, there should be significant opportunities to be able to do that. So I think maybe you're right. If we do ask the various, groups to do the best they can, because again, I'd like to see a lot of enthusiasm, created in the community, and also make sure we're not missing anything. It would be a shame to build this new thing and somebody, boy, didn't you consider putting in this kind of XYZ function of the library? That's, they're everywhere now. Oh, God, wish you'd have told us that before. Wish you'd have asked. So, okay, thanks for that. Councillor Fawcett?
Yes, thank you, through your worship, to Ryan, and thanks for that. That was a very good presentation, and we will definitely go look for it on the website. But I do agree with Mayor Crest and yourself that we should be talking with the library and the art gallery, and maybe even with storyboards or something, having them present in their buildings, or at least some documents that are accessible in the buildings that you can get feedback from. Because that interaction is great. It is the user groups. And as we know, with the openings now going on again at the art gallery, you can get hundreds of people sometimes in there just for the openings. So getting that feedback is really great. We also, get more and more people in the library now that things are kind of open back up, and they could really look and see. And I don't want to downplay the whole, our Brandon Wellness and Safety Task Force that Councillor Lupke was talking about there. It is a big part of what we're doing here too. We're talking about the physical structure of the building and the concept design of that building. But the reality is this council is looking at downtown. We know that we own that building. We know that those are huge amenities to us. And we know they're big assets to the city and to visitors and to, everybody that goes through the city. They represent what we think of ourselves. Downtowns are kind of the heart of our community. 18th Street's awesome. We love all our stuff that we have, but outside the Keystone Center, you can pretty much go through any major city and get all the same things that you got on those. It's this downtown tells us who we are. And I like the idea that we're trying to show some pride. But it's a big picture we're looking at here, as Councillor Lupke again mentioned earlier, even just with our little report on the Brandon Wellness and Safety Task Force. That plays a big role in what we're doing. And this library arts building isn't in a silo, something that is part of this bigger picture. So yeah, if there is such thing as them working with us on putting up storyboards or something that is tangible that they can go in and really see, so that everybody that goes in those buildings sees what sort of the concept is and has the ability to write something and distribute. You know, we have staff in there. I'm thinking a little bit like Councillor Cullen right now, which really scares me because I want to see the visual of things, you know, and he likes to see all those visuals. So if you can do that, I think it would be great. I think it would be a benefit for them to participate with us because it's the biggest win for them. So I'm really happy. I've been happy with the process, and we do want to get a lot of good feedback. So if that kind of stuff helps, let's do it. If you need me to get in there and muscle people, then I'll do that too.
Right on. Yeah, through your worship, thanks, Councillor Fawcett, and appreciate the feedback from both you and the mayor about the engagement piece. It seems like that's an easy win to do kind of the storyboard piece in the different facilities and work with our partners to kind of engage their customer base in the vision and getting some feedback that way, as long as the online venue. So I'll reach out to the partners after this and try to figure out a way where we can get some public momentum going and for the concept to make sure we hear what our residents have to say.
Yeah, of note, we have 2 library locations we could put the storyboard.
And Councillor Parker?
Thank you, Worship. I'm not sure if this is a question or a comment, but I agree in the public engagement piece that we need to look at that. I think I'm a little worried that we are a little narrow in the focus if we just use the user groups, because that's pretty specific, and those people are already going and they're already interested, and they're going to love something new, as they should, and everything here looks fantastic. But I think we need to get some more broad-based community engagement in the project. You know, it's a pretty limited number of people in the grand scheme of things. There's 50,000 citizens here, so anyway, I just think we need to open it up a little bit if it's possible to get some more engagement other than user groups, because it's pretty obvious the user groups, while their input into the actual design, the final design, is invaluable, project itself, I guess, needs to have broad-based community support. Could make sure we open it up a bit if we can, that's all.
And I agree. Otherwise, it's kind of an echo chamber. You know, you're not really capturing the people who are not coming. That's who we probably want to hear from more than anybody. So, Councillor Desjardins?
I think through your worship, along that vein, is the Westmount Regional Library like a charitable, is it a not-for-profit? Is it a charitable organization?
AGSM is.
I'm just curious if it is, because I'm thinking about public-private donations as we move forward with this, right? I mean, the public library is sort of ripe for that kind of public response, right? And I'm sure that there's other libraries through the years that have received that sort of thing. So I'm thinking about that kind of campaign in addition to any funding we're looking for.
If nothing else, I mean, the city is actually capable of taking donations and issuing receipts. So even if they're under our auspices, that can happen. As Councillor Fawcett mentioned, the Art Gallery certainly is a non-profit organization to that extent. So that's a good point. Councillor Chaboy.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to make a comment. I think that the bricks and mortar of the plan are conceptually, they look really good. I think what's important beyond, you know, architect plans is the collaboration between these 3 organizations working together. And I know that we've discussed this a bit about, you know, safety for the patrons of the library, the art gallery, and the museum. And I just wanted to share with council, I don't know if you noticed on the news in Winnipeg, they just had a graduation for a new program, and they're called Community Safety Hosts. And it's a human approach to not having just a security guard at a library that's pushing people out the door It's more of, inclusive, a human-first approach. And they've just had the graduation for these types of positions. So I think that beyond the building, we have to look at what we're trying to achieve downtown, of inviting all the public there and making sure that everyone feels safe and is excited about looking at art and maybe, at the books and having a coffee. And it's going to be a wonderful environment for people in the community and families to go to. So anyways, that's just one of the things that I think that we should be thinking. I hate to say it outside the box, but it is, on some of these programs and things that could work. And I think it's also important for us to dig a little deeper into the service agreement to make sure service agreement with the entities involved, that they are going to collaborate and work together, so there will be some shared services. Then in the end, that could save us some money too. If we have, for example, these community safety hosts, that it's going to come out of the pockets out of all the entities and not just one, and it's a shared responsibility. So anyways, food for thought.
Thanks for that. Who did you say had the community safety host graduation?
They just had in Winnipeg. I don't know if it was from Red River or whatever, but I've seen it on the news where they were showing the graduation ceremony, and I think it's something that we should, and it is, they're trained in security, but they're also trained in dealing with, harm reduction and those aspects of dealing with anyone that comes in the door that might be having some kind of stress and treating humans fairly.
That's excellent. That's definitely the concept we need. So, and Councillor Fawcett.
Yeah, just 3 words. So just to confirm, of course, you can make donations at any time to Brandon Public Library. It does, and of course, for those that are watching regionally, our partner libraries in Carberry, North Cyprus, Glenborough, South Cyprus, Hartney, or Neepawa, you can make donations to them as well, which we know people do. So it is.
Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up. Any other questions of Mr. Nicol? Not seeing any. Thank you very much, Ryan. Excellent presentation. Very exciting project. So, coming back to Councillor Fawcett's main motion of the presentation, we open up the floor to any other discussion, debate, questions. Councillor Fawcett.
Yeah, thank you again, through you. Sort of to Councillor Parker's point there, I do think that we get all this information out to be discussed and seen at the sites in that location. And then as we kind of get some feedback and things, we do need to take it to a broader public audience. And that might be some of our responsibility. But we need to make a plan on that, get a sense of if it is something we're pursuing. And obviously, if we need to go to a public hearing, if we were looking at debentures and things like that, that has to be a full public discussion. So we'll kind of keep people abreast of what's going on and a timeline attached to it. But in the meantime, we just want to get some input. Do go to the website. Hopefully people saw today the presentation from Mr. Nicol. And give us some general feedback on expectations and what you'd like to see. And this is a big part of what we're looking at downtown. The YMCA is doing their expansion right now. There's talk of further development on 10th Street at an existing location. We've got our property downtown that we're going to be looking at marketing. So there's a lot of things going on, and plus with the Downtown Wellness Safety Task Force, we'll be coming to council in a while with some things we're looking at to implement sooner than later. Our community collaboration, wellness collaboration group there, we're working on doing a lot of things down there. So it is a part of a very big picture, and it's a very key piece. So I hope that the community does look at it. I hope the community sees some value in it and gives us their input, good or bad. We want to hear it all.
Well put. Any other discussion before we call the question? Not seeing any then. I think we're ready for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. And next item, please.
The 2021 financial information return.
Councillor Parker, go ahead.
Your worship, I'd move that pursuant to section 183(2) of the Municipal Act, the 2021 financial information return unaudited be adopted.
Seconder, please. Councillor Desjardins, who wishes to speak?
Well, just very briefly, like it says, this is a requirement of the Act, and we have gone through that return tonight in a little bit more detail previously, so it's just a matter of providing vehicle to send it in.
I do know the Director of Finance, Val Rochelle, is on the line. I'm not sure that she was planning on making a presentation. She's welcome to if she had one prepared. I suspect she's probably available just to answer questions, but I never like to shut someone out that did a bunch of work on a presentation.
She will answer questions, Your Worship.
Can answer questions, okay. Very good. So if there are questions, just please know that our Director of Finance is on the line here and available any minute here, any moment. Any discussion? Quite straightforward. This is just a provincial requirement, our own internal information, which is always extremely accurate, is supplied, has to be supplied, I think, for the end of the month. And then, of course, our audit does occur, and that's kind of the final one. So if there are no questions or discussion, I think we're ready for the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Ms. Rochelle, for sticking with us while we looked at that. And next item, please.
Under the order of bylaws, Your Worship, bylaw number 7303, which is to rezone the closed lane located at the perimeter of 25 20th Street.
Yeah, I think that's in Councillor Cameron's ward. It might be a little cumbersome for him to do this, so Councillor Fawcett, go ahead.
Thank you, through Your Worship, that bylaw number 7303 to rezone property located at the closed lane in Block 10, Plan 15, BLT-O, located at the perimeter of 26 20th Street from residential low density to residential moderate density, zone be read a third and final time.
And seconder, please. Councillor Frangi. Mover wish to speak. Again, I'm sure our planning department can answer questions if there are some. But,
I may have Mr. Nicol, if you can, just give us a brief, but it is just it's a three-story building that's going in there. It's the plan.
Through Your Worship, to Councillor Fawcett. So the details would have been at second reading, but it's a little bit of a details kind of thing, just because the property itself was always zoned moderate density. It's just because there's a lane, an undeveloped lane around the property that isn't of use to the city. So there was an arrangement made to sell that off to the builder. And part of that was just because government's government, and there's a process to everything, is that closed portion of lane didn't have a zone, or it was partially zoned an adjacent zone. So in short, it needed to be zoned the same zone as the other property, and that's what this process was about. The resulting development will be a 12-unit building, but at that location, there's been lots of feedback about the need for better public visibility. This building will certainly do that on the surrounding area, as well all other requirements are met, including parking. So the development agreement's been signed now, and hopefully once this gets third reading, if it gets third reading, it'll move forward and get built. Thanks.
very good. While you're there, just in case there's any questions, Mr. Nicol, it is fairly straightforward. The substantive part of the property has always been zoned this, and just this little piece of lane that they picked up needs to match it. So that's about all we're rezoning here tonight. Otherwise, a positive project for the area. Okay, I just want to double check, make sure that none of online councillors have their hands up? They don't? Okay, thank you, Mr. Nichol. Back to the motion. Any other discussion before we call for the question? I will remind that it is the third reading. A recorded vote is required. Calling the question then, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried unanimously, including both councillors that are online. Thank you to both of you. And next item, please.
Giving of notice, Your Worship.
Any giving of notice this evening? Not seeing any. Next item, please.
Adjourn would be in order, Your Worship.
Motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Chaboyer, seconded by Councillor Sean Barry. Got them switched around, but he's still in there. So, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much.